Welcome to our U.S. briefing program. Today, we dive into some significant developments in international relations and trade. President Trump is making headlines with his intention to withdraw the U.S. from the UN Human Rights Council and extend a funding ban on UNRWA, which could have serious implications for Palestinian refugees and international diplomacy. In Australia, Treasurer Jim Chalmers is keeping the door open for potential retaliation against the U.S. amid ongoing trade tensions. With the Australian dollar and stock market feeling the strain, the government is navigating the complexities of these international policies while ensuring the best outcomes for its economy. The stakes are high, and the situation remains fluid. Lastly, we discuss El Salvador's unprecedented agreement to house violent criminals and deportees from the U.S., raising alarms among human rights advocates. This controversial deal has sparked concerns about the implications for migrant rights and the potential for authoritarianism in the region. As these stories unfold, please continue to watch for detailed coverage. Al Jazeera reports that President Donald Trump is set to withdraw the United States from the United Nations Human Rights Council and extend a funding ban on the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, UNRWA. This move, announced by an unnamed White House official, coincides with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to the White House. Trump's administration previously exited the Human Rights Council in 2018, citing bias against Israel, and has already withdrawn from other international agreements like the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Accord. The U.S. has historically been a significant donor to UNRWA, which provides essential services to millions of Palestinians, but funding has been paused amid allegations regarding the agency's staff involvement in violence against Israel. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation highlights Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers' response to potential trade tensions stemming from Donald Trump's trade policies. While Chalmers downplays the likelihood of Australia being directly targeted, he acknowledges the possibility of retaliation if financial sanctions are imposed on Australia. The Australian dollar and stock market have already reacted negatively to the threat of a global trade war. Australia's trade balance with the U.S. shows a significant deficit, with U.S. imports far exceeding exports. Chalmers emphasizes that imposing tariffs would not be Australia's preferred approach, as it could ultimately hurt consumers and the economy without influencing U.S. or Chinese policies. Trade Minister Don Farrell is also looking to engage with his U.S. counterpart to navigate these challenges. Nikkei Asia reports on the abrupt closure of the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, which has left Asian development officials in shock, particularly those who had anticipated collaboration with the U.S. to provide alternatives to Chinese aid in the Indo-Pacific region. The Biden administration had previously aimed to enhance development policy coordination among allies, but this sudden shutdown disrupts those plans. Lawmakers are vocally opposing the move, criticizing Elon Musk's influence in the decision-making process. The appointment of Secretary of State Marco Rubio as acting administrator signals a potential merger of USAID with the State Department, raising concerns about the future of development assistance, especially for countries in South Asia that heavily rely on USAID funding. CNN reports that El Salvador has entered into an unprecedented agreement with the United States to house violent criminals and deportees of any nationality. This deal, announced by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio after a meeting with President Nayib Bukele, has raised alarms among critics and human rights organizations. The agreement allows El Salvador to accept Salvadoran deportees as well as any illegal aliens in the U.S. who are criminals, including members of notorious gangs like MS-13. Bukele confirmed that they are willing to house convicted criminals, including U.S. citizens, in exchange for a fee that would help sustain their prison system. Critics argue that this arrangement could lead to violations of international laws and highlight concerns over El Salvador's draconian measures against alleged gang members, potentially leading to wrongful detentions. Australian Broadcasting Corporation informs that President Donald Trump has decided to pause tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico after negotiating with their leaders. The tariffs were initially proposed as a measure to combat the importation of fentanyl and illegal immigration. However, following discussions with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, both countries committed to tackling drug trafficking and enhancing border security. The agreements include measures such as reinforcing the border and listing cartels as terrorist entities. While the tariffs are currently paused, Trump retains the option to reinstate them, and he has also indicated that tariffs on imports from the European Union are forthcoming. This pause aims to de-escalate tensions and prevent a trade war that could harm economic growth in North America. Al Jazeera highlights the repercussions of President Trump's recent warning directed at pro-Palestinian student protesters in the U.S., particularly targeting immigrant students. Trump threatened to deport those he labeled as Hamas sympathizers, following a new executive order aimed at combating anti-Semitism on college campuses. This order allows for the prosecution and removal of foreign students involved in anti-Semitic harassment. Critics argue that Trump's actions threaten free speech and could create a chilling effect on student activism, particularly among vulnerable immigrant populations. The order has drawn comparisons to McCarthyism and has raised concerns over its potential to suppress dissenting political views while failing to address the root causes of anti-Semitism. Advocates for free speech contend that the order could further exacerbate a climate of fear and mistrust on campuses, rather than fostering dialogue and understanding. Guardian. In a surprising turn of events, President Donald Trump has decided to delay the imposition of new tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico for at least 30 days, a move that has temporarily eased tensions between the three nations. This postponement marks the third time in 2 weeks that Trump has refrained from implementing the controversial 25% tariffs, which had sent shockwaves through global financial markets. The decision comes after productive discussions with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, leading to a series of agreements aimed at enhancing border security and combating drug trafficking. While the U.S. prepares to enforce a 10% levy on Chinese exports, investors remain cautiously optimistic about the potential for a resolution to the ongoing trade disputes, especially as both Canada and Mexico work on strategies to address the concerns raised by the Trump administration. Nikkei Asia. Following the announcement of Trump's tariff delay, Asian stocks experienced a notable rebound, with Japan's Nikkei stock average rising significantly as investors reacted positively to the news. This recovery comes on the heels of a tumultuous trading day where fears of escalating tariffs had led to substantial losses. As optimism spreads, companies that export to China, such as industrial robot manufacturers and automotive giants, saw their stocks surge, indicating a renewed confidence in the market. In addition to Japan, other Asian markets, including Hong Kong and South Korea, also reported gains, particularly in sectors like semiconductors and consumer goods. However, the shadow of unresolved trade issues looms large, as Trump has warned that tariffs on China could increase if negotiations do not yield satisfactory results, leaving investors in a state of cautious anticipation. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
News breaks, buzz the ground, stories spin, walls come down, voices merge in the sound, faces mix in the crowd, broadcasters paint the scene, world events on our screen, every link a different theme, words collide in the stream, 6 degrees connect the dots, background stories more than knots. Hear the voices rise aloft. Truth unveils in every spot. Cultures clash across the globe. Spin the threads in a strobe. Every story wears a robe. Truth and lies in their code. Journalists dig real deep. Secrets out